Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my November 2024 reading vlog. Now this is about a third through the month already and I have already started and completed a few books. The first book I read was The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton, which I ended up giving 4 stars. That will be discussed in my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime reading vlog. I really enjoyed it. It is a children's fantasy that introduces the concepts of words, numbers, rhyme and reason, and a lot of fun puns. So I will discuss that in the other vlog. I also listened to the audiobook of Songteller, the Dolly Parton sort of autobiography, written by her as well as another man. I listened to the audiobook of it, so it's essentially a sort of interview with Dolly Parton where she discusses a lot of her songs, a lot of the people she met along the way, her family, her values, and the reasons that she wrote certain songs. They play snippets of most of the songs, so you at least get an idea of what she's talking about if you don't know all of her music. I really like hearing Dolly Parton speak, and I think the audiobook was a way better format for reading this book because it's essentially a sit-down interview. She's not going into detail about her life because her life was fairly simple and there wasn't a lot of tragedy or discussion. So I really enjoyed hearing her talk about her ideas for her songs and how much fun she has had in her very, very long career. Now, a lot of it was also advertisements for her book charity, for her Netflix movies and shows she does. I don't know any of them. But it was interesting finding out the backstory for some of her greatest hits, such as I Will Always Love You and Jolene. Those are the ones I really know. And there's a little bit of discussion of her movies as well. So that was a 3-star for me, totally harmless and an interesting way to do a memoir. Next, I am making my way through Batman No Man's Land. I've already finished Volume 1, which I gave 3 stars. Volume 2, which I gave 4 stars. This one's my favorite so far. And I am halfway through Volume 3. Now, No Man's Land is about how there was an earthquake that hit Gotham, and then the US government decided, that's it, we have nothing to do with Gotham, it is shut down from the rest of the country, they can do whatever they want, people can leave, and this is about everyone who decided to stay and how they are surviving and fighting off gang wars and all of the supervillains. And Batman in his Bat family are trying to solve things, as well as the cops. A lot of it is very gang war, a lot of it is discussions about how when people lose the law, they become like animals, they become desperate for leadership, desperate for power, desperate to survive. And a lot of this is really interesting. I really like the dynamics of the Bat family. It's all really nice and concise because they're basically all together trapped in one spot. So there's not a lot of character differentiation, and the introduction of Cassandra Cain has been one of my favorite elements. I really enjoy her character, and so far I enjoy the unique ways they are showing her methods of communication because at this present time she can't speak. The person who raised her did not raise her to learn any language. So Barbara, or Oracle, is teaching her how to speak, a little by little, but Batman has immediately taken her on and introduced her as Batgirl, and I've been really enjoying that. And my favorite part, funnily, was in Volume 3 so far, where Harley Quinn was introduced into the comics, and her and Joker have relationship issues, and she's purposefully avoiding him and making Joker want her. It's really funny, and I really like the introduction of Harley into the official Batman comics, so that was exciting to read as well. I will tell you my thoughts when I am finished my run of No Man's Land, especially Volumes 3 and 4, but so far I'm really liking it. And currently I am reading a short story collection called In These Hallowed Halls, and I believe it is 12 stories based around dark academia. So far I have only read one from an author that I didn't enjoy, nor did I enjoy her version of a dark academia story, so we will see how that goes as well. I will update you with more very soon. this is another quick update to say that I have finished the final 2 volumes of Batman No Man's Land, that being Volume 3 and Volume 4, both of which I gave 3 stars. I thought the ending for No Man's Land was pretty good, introducing Lex Luthor and his attempts to take over Gotham and control it due to financially backing up the renovations for Gotham was very interesting, and the very, very upsetting plot with Joker kidnapping all of the babies in No Man's Land just to shoot Jim Gordon's new wife to death was very, very shocking, and a very, very violent and powerful event to sort of end the No Man's Land arc, to show that there is both tragedy in the event as well as celebration in the event. And I'm excited to see where the comics go as they ended the millennium and entered the 2000s. I also finished In These Hallowed Halls, and I am giving that one 2 stars. There were only 12 short stories in the anthology, and they were all very, very different to each other. The problem with trying to capitalize on sort of a niche subgenre is that it's not very well defined. So while they got some pretty good authors who have written stories that are considered to be dark academia, it is not a genre that has been wholly defined. So a lot of these stories just fit into other genres that already exist, that being academic fantasy, academic thrillers, and just simply campus novels with a bit of darkness in them. So a lot of it did not really suit the dark academia aesthetic, because that's what it is. It is an aesthetic. It is not an entire book genre. So I wasn't interested in a lot of these stories, a lot of them just being simple thriller premises or just simply fantasy premises, and I don't like either of those. My favorite story in the bunch was the one by Lane Fargo, because it was a very interesting premise, and I usually like her writing and the plots that she chooses to write about. Everything else in here was just a bit lackluster and stuff I was not interested in. I didn't even really like M.L. Rio's short story, and she wrote a novel that I enjoy, If We Were Villains, which is considered a tentpole of the dark academia genre. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in that, but hey, I tried it and it was just a short story collection. I am currently reading Clytemnestra by Constanza Casati as my closer for the month. I am 86 pages into it, and so far it is just introducing the titular character Clytemnestra, which, if you don't know, is the sister of Helen of Troy, that being the catalyst for the great war that takes place in the Iliad. Clytemnestra is someone who marries a warlord named Agamemnon, and during this war, in order to continue succeeding, Agamemnon has to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia, and Clytemnestra did not know about that, and she gets very angry with him and ends up sleeping with Agamemnon's cousin and the man who is destined to take down his bloodline. So she gets with him, and together they kill Agamemnon. So Clytemnestra is known to be one of the great female villains of Greek myth, and so far this is a book recounting her life prior to that. So far she has been with her first husband and has met Agamemnon and knows he's bad news, but no one's listening to her and how his family line is cursed, and evidently she is going to be forced to marry him, just as her sister Helen is going to marry Menelaus. I am at the chapter right before that great, I can't remember what it is, a race? It might be a race. A race for Helen's hand takes place. So I'm not too far into it. So far it is pretty good. I am glad that the relationship between Helen and Clytemnestra as sisters is a bit realistic. However, I don't like the aspect that Helen is inherently more feminine while Clytemnestra is inherently more masculine, because that shouldn't be the dichotomy that is splitting them apart, nor should that be the only reason why Clytemnestra is a strong person. She can be a strong, well-rounded character without having to cater too much to masculine traits and wishing she was a man herself. That is a very tired trope, and I wish this had a little bit more nuance in showing the differences between the two women. But besides that, it is alright so far, and I am excited to see where the story goes from here. So that's my update for now. Meet me at the wrap-up, where I will reiterate all of my final thoughts again in a more concise space. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the wrap-up for the month. I'm filming it down here because up in my room it is way too dark. It's rainy today, daylight savings, my upstairs light just doesn't work, so we're doing it down here. Hi, Selena. Selena's here. She's sniffing the tripod. She's a little grumpy because the sun's not out today. So this month I finished 7 books and I am currently reading 1 book. I am doing my wrap up just a little bit early because I have a busier end of the month with Black Friday and all of that. So if I have any final thoughts about my 8th book, I will put them in after my wrap up. So for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, I finished off the year by reading The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton and I gave that book 4 stars. I thought it was a very, very sweet children's story, introducing very complicated topics and fun little wordplay, puns, jokes, and just an interesting method of introducing spelling and time and math to children in a very creative way. I really, really liked it, and it might have been my favorite book that I read this month. I then listened to the audiobook of Dolly Parton's sort of autobiographical book, Songteller, and it was pretty good. It was 3 stars. It is essentially 5 hours of her discussing 100 points in her life, whether that be songs, moments, people, and experiences, and it was pretty good. A lot of it was her advertising for her Netflix series, her Netflix movies, her reading charity, and her albums, but ultimately it was really nice hearing Dolly speak about her life, and I liked that it wasn't in a typical memoir fashion. It was just little bits and pieces and was essentially an interview. So that was really, really nice to hear, and that wrapped up the 5 biographies that I wanted to read this year. So I'm glad that I read some celebrity autobiographies this year. A lot of them were pretty similar. They were all female celebrities, but I enjoyed all of them greatly. I will do my review of the 4 comics that I read all at once because I read the great 1999 event, Batman No Man's Land. So I read Volume 1, 3 stars. I read Volume 2, 4 stars. I read Volume 3, 3 stars. And I read Volume 4, 3 stars. Ultimately, I thought it was a very cohesive event, very interesting, very exciting. Volume 2 was my favorite. I think it was just a great story compiled from various different comics, that being Batman, Detective Comics, Catwoman, Azrael. But I think it told a very linear story and had very excellent character work because all of the comic book characters were stuck in one area and they couldn't have their continuity and characters changed throughout other comics. It was all one event and they had to stick to each other and interact with each other. And I think there was a lot of excellent work in here. I really loved the comic book's introduction of Harley Quinn because she was originally on Batman the Animated Series. I loved her little storyline with Joker where she was purposefully ignoring him and making him want her more. I really enjoyed the introduction of Cassandra Cain. I really loved her relationship with Barbara as Oracle. I really liked Oracle's connection to Azrael, and I liked the storyline where Azrael was sent to go defeat Joker, and Joker was like, no, wait,
no, where's Batman? And Azrael said, your makeup's stupid and you have a bad wig on. And Joker just stops dead and goes, wig? Wig? I'm not wearing a wig. And like Azrael and Cassandra just leave and they solve the issue while Joker's just paused there going, I don't wear a wig. It was great. It was my favorite part. Unfortunately, Joker does some pretty messed up shit by the end of this story, so he's not my favorite right now. He kidnapped a bunch of babies in No Man's Land and killed Jim Gordon's wife, Sarah. So that sucks. He sucks, and I'm glad he's going to jail. Now, as for what I'm reading next, I will be reading the events that come after Batman No Man's Land. I can't remember the name of those comics right now, but I will eventually be getting to Bruce Wayne Murderer and Bruce Wayne Fugitive. So that's going to be some exciting and some weird stuff. So stay tuned for that, likely next year. I then read the short story collection in these Hallowed Halls, a dark academia collection. It was 12 stories that were related to the dark academia genre, and I gave it 2 stars because I only liked one story in it. That normally doesn't happen in a short story collection, but it just was not the short story collection for me. There was just a lot of it that does not technically fall under dark academia in my eyes. A lot of it was just simply campus novels, academic thrillers, or academic fantasy, and I really don't like academic fantasy. It was really bold to try and do a dark academia short story collection, and I'm sure some people really appreciated just having those little stories to see if the genre is right for them, but to me it just didn't encapsulate what dark academia really is. A lot of people don't really know how to define it, but to me I felt that this short story didn't define it properly. So I was a little bit disappointed by that, but it's just a short story collection. I feel like I didn't waste my time with it. They were just short stories. And finally, I am finishing out the month by reading Clytemnestra by Constanza Casati. I am 100 pages into it, and so far it is exactly as I discussed beforehand. I haven't gone into any of the nitty-gritty stuff, that being the Trojan War or her murdering her husband, so we'll see how that is properly tackled. Still, so far, we are still stuck with Helen and Clytemnestra in a bit of a feud, and I'm currently at the part where Helen is describing how she's jealous. It's just, not very nuanced in their depictions, but we haven't gone to the proper meat of Clytemnestra's story, so I will let you know soon what I think of that. I will put my final thoughts here if I finish it before the end of the month, and if not, I will be putting it into next month's vlog. So that's it. That was my reading month. I had kind of a busy month and kind of not a good one mood-wise. It's just due to the daylight savings change. I really want it to start snowing soon and get cold and just get properly into winter. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I will be making another reading vlog for next month, but I will also be doing my favorite books of 2024 list, so stay tuned for that. See you next time. Bye bye.